This Late Night Linux Family podcast is made possible by our patrons. Go to latenightlinux.com/support for details of how you can join them. Support us on Patreon for access to ad-free episodes and early releases. That's latenightlinux.com/support. Hello, and welcome to episode 107 of Linux After Dark. I'm Joe.
I'm Chris.
I'm Gary.
And I'm May.
Welcome back all. We've done various spending money on Linux boxes challenges in the past. We had the £50 challenge and the £20 challenge. That made me think, what if our budget was unlimited? Now, don't worry, we've not actually gone out and bought anything here. But the question is, if your budget was completely unlimited, what Linux machine would you go out and buy?
See, I found this really hard, not only because I completely lost interest in any hardware that's created after about 2020, but also because I think I already had the Linux machine that I would still buy if there were a modern version and money were no object. But it all went to crap in about 2015, 2016, and machines like that don't exist anymore.
Let me guess, a ThinkPad that you can swap the battery in.
Yeah, it is. It's a ThinkPad T550 or T560, but I had a T550 specifically.
The perfect Linux machine already existed.
Well, I mean, for me, it was the perfect mix of all things. And this is probably just going to be another episode where I reminisce about hardware from 10 years ago. But it had a 15-inch 2560 by something display, like super high resolution IPS display. It had 8+ hours of battery life that was even longer depending on how many spare batteries I wanted to carry with me. It had a physical docking connector and a powerful enough CPU that it was a viable desktop replacement for me at the time. And I just can't think that I would want a machine with any function that that laptop did not have, aside modern guts inside.
Maybe that's possible. I mean, you have a limited budget. Maybe you could pay someone to design from reference a new motherboard for it.
Well, that is a thing for some of the older ThinkPads. Like I've seen, I think they call them like the X200 AI motherboard or something. Yeah, we'll ignore the AI. But those motherboards are like a set of crowd-funded Chinese-made motherboards that go into the really old ThinkPads, like the classic keyboard style X series ThinkPads. So you could have a ThinkPad X61, which is like a 4x3 ThinkPad that originally came with a Pentium M, with that retrofit motherboard and a 1920 by something display, whatever the relevant 4x3 resolution is, in a laptop that looks like and is built like a computer from 2004. That's the dream. But Lenovo also made that when they made the ThinkPad 20th Anniversary Edition, which again was similar vintage to the T550, a ThinkPad with the classic keyboard and the build quality from the old ones, etc. But it was also $2,000, which was insane compared to a T-Series at the time.
See, I was fairly tempted, not necessarily by the exact piece of hardware, but the Framework desktop, when it came out, I was interested in the CPU that is in it, because I look at that and I think this is the first time, apart from buying an M4 Mac, this is the first time, and I'm specifically talking about the CPU, if I bought that and put it in a machine and spec'd it up with lots of RAM, then any computing task that I feel like I would want to achieve at home, I would be able to do. For me, it's quite difficult to break out of being very tight. Like, that's the problem. Because I'm so used to, like, there's a great satisfaction, and I think we all share this, which was how we end up with £50 and £20 machine challenges. There's a great satisfaction in getting something on the cheap and it actually fulfilling a specific objective. But sometimes I think I really should just sweep the room of everything and lay down more money for something like that is everything I need, and try and make it a bit more of an old-fashioned paradigm of a desktop computer that I do everything for. Because the raw performance is undeniably impressive, and I do start to wonder if I'm doing a bit of Pratchett's Boots theory. I'm like, oh, just buy this one. Oh, and another one. I picked this one up on the cheap. And you start fragmenting your stack. Whereas if you laid down the cash and made a more thoughtful purchase, perhaps it would be more efficient in the long run.
It's funny that you mentioned the framework desktop and specifically that, is it like Halo Strix or something, the AMD system on a chip inside it? Because it's not really CPU, is it? Because it's got the RAM integrated and whatnot. So it's really fast and really, really energy efficient as well, like up there with the M Series Max, supposedly. And when we first started talking about this as a topic, a potential topic, that hadn't come along yet. So my dream machine has somewhat changed because before that, I was pretty much happy with the hardware that I've already got. And I just, I look around at what's available and I've got a 13900K machine. And yeah, it uses a lot of power, but nothing that I could really buy would outperform it to the point that it's worth justifying buying it. But now looking at the framework desktop, I wonder maybe that would be kind of on a par with my 13900K, but it would use way less juice.
But how much does it cost to get it compared to how much it costs extra to run your current one?
Depends if you can convince them to give you a free one.
All right, buddy.
So far, unsuccessful on that score.
Well, and given our collective views on and experiences of framework devices, I don't know if you'd want to rely on that as a recording machine, Jay.
That is true.
But yeah, it's pricey, isn't it? It's the Max Plus 395. If you really want to go all out and get the 16-core 32-thread model, if it's in the framework desktop, that's $2,000.
But that is a laptop SoC, isn't it? Well, a mobile SoC. So you should be able to get laptops with it at some point soon, if not already.
Well, that's going to be like workstation grade laptops, isn't it? Which then becomes something that you probably wouldn't want to lug around everywhere.
Unless someone tries to make the MacBook again, which is what the entire industry has been trying to do for the past 20 years, but has never actually managed. If someone actually did one of the M1 Max, but with the Ryzen AI, they might actually be okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Strix, whatever, ROG, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I've also got my XPS 15 and my XPS 13. The XPS 15 is a 13700H, so that is like workstation class. Battery lasts about 2 and a bit hours, but it's kind of a luggable rather than a proper laptop. So I've got that to move around with if I need a lot of power. And then I've got my 11th gen i7 XPS 13, which is my kind of daily driver for when I need a light laptop that has decent battery life. So between the two XPSs and my desktop, and also my recording desktop, which is a 9900K.
Yeesh.
I know. I feel like I'm just covered. I just don't think that I would really benefit from anything new, apart from maybe these new AMD ones.
I think I'd agree. I think you've got enough computers, actually. I think you've won.
Yeah.
That is kind of the thing, is that all of us do, honestly, have enough computers. This is just, kicking things around.
Well, yeah, obviously we do.
Well, I think that's why I found it so hard to come up with anything imaginative, because, yeah, I've got enough computing devices to fulfill every need that I could have. I've got the Framework 12 as a small luggable machine. I've got the 50 quid ThinkPad L380 as a beta, throw it in a bag, don't care about it machine. And then I've got the machines I actually use day to day.
I think I have the same problem, is that I have my Ryzen 7 5700X3D and RX 7800 desktop that will do everything that I need it to do and more for probably several years at this point. And the motherboard I bought in 2018 and replaced the CPU in it this year, which is amazing. I just don't see a world where I need a dream machine past what I have. I mean, sure, laptops, I have the first gen framework, which isn't a reliable thing, but it's reliable enough that when I need to go out and work, it's fine enough. So, yeah, this was a difficult challenge to talk about.
I think we have a kind of threshold as well. Maybe it's, for me professionally, like I have access to lots of cores in my day job, but I never need that kind of scale at home because I'm not into video games, like modern AAA video games. A game doesn't come out, I have friends where this happens. A game will come out and they'll go, oh, my graphics card is not up to it. Or suddenly when 4 cores was enough, now 6 or 8 cores is what's needed, and I need a higher single thread score. And that kind of drives the hardware upgrade cycle.
Whereas you can play sensible soccer on a Raspberry Pi Zero.
Exactly. That's it. That's all I care about. I can emulate an Amiga on anything that I've got in the house. But also I'm not compiling software at home. I'm compiling software at work, and I will get as many cores as I can get to do that because it speeds up my day if I can scale it up that way, or if I'm running things and I can scale it. But I rarely have those kind of workloads at home. Occasionally I'll do something silly. I was emulating old PCs the other day, and my work laptop is now by far the best at doing that because it is literally single threaded. So the faster a single core on your machine can go, the more modern of a machine you can fully emulate. And I'm talking about the whole shebang. You boot the emulator machine into the BIOS. You can go into the BIOS and, once it's full screen, it's barely distinguishable. But I think my laptop turbo boosts to like 4.5 gigahertz, and I can just about do a Pentium 233 MMX.
Can you play sensible World of Soccer on that?
I'm getting old now because it's nostalgia trap. I can emulate my family PC of the 90s. And I'm talking about getting the recovery CDs and like making it into the experience that it was back then. So you boot into it and, it's got Encarta 97 and it's got, I'm running Windows in it because that's what I was running at the time. But it's quite fascinating to, I compiled from source for the actual emulator that I'm running in DistroBox. So it's Linux to get to old Windows. And yeah, I found myself frustrated and I started looking for new machines because I was like, that one's 5 gigahertz. I could probably get like a Pentium 3 on that.
Surely it'd be more cost effective to buy the old Packard Bell you had as a kid.
Well, possibly. But then, that's another one on the stack. Having a machine that could do all of this, that I think that's the thing. It's a nice idea, but if you actually buy one of those things, then you've essentially bought the VW camper van of computers and you're just going to spend your life tinkering and replacing parts in it. So, but other than that, I rarely use any of the computers I have and feel like they're absolutely rubbish and holding me back. So I probably just buy that very expensive AMD chip and not really utilize it to its full potential.
Chris, as someone who went and bought the machines I had as a kid that now sit in my kid's wardrobe, and someone who went and bought the car of the early 90s that I have spent more time this summer tinkering with than driving, and the PCs have spent more time in the kids' wardrobe than being used to play the games I played as a kid with my kids. You've made the right choice.
I think that you've hit the nail on the head though, Chris. Like, I'm at a stage in my life now where I'm not saying I can afford literally anything I want, but like I can afford the computers that I want, basically. Like I don't want something ridiculously fast. Like I could probably get some sort of Threadripper or whatever, but I just like don't want to deal with the noise and the heat and everything of that. And I could probably afford just about a relatively high-end Mac if I really wanted it, but I've got my M1 and that's fine. I don't really like macOS. And the more modern M3 and M4 don't support Linux. So I'm just kind of happy with what I have. I think that I get more pleasure from shitty old computers than I do from brand new ones, maybe.
Yeah, I think I've maybe reached saturation point with new computers. Like there isn't a computer that I think has been built in the last 5 years that doesn't do all the stuff that I want to do. So it's now more interesting to go and have a nostalgia trip. I think you're right.
Yeah, and I could get something faster than my 13900K, but why would I?
Well, it becomes diminishing returns, doesn't it? I moved from an M1 Mac to an M4 Mac, and sure, on paper it's way faster, but running Audacity and a web browser and a couple of IM clients, I don't actually notice the difference most of the time.
Today, Linux After Dark discovers gratitude.
Yeah, and trying to be a bit more zen, I suppose. Like, enjoy the shit that you have and don't always look for more, maybe.
Well, and I think, like we've said before, there's a serious environmental impact to always chasing the latest thing. I mean, May, you're still using a phone from 5 generations ago, and it's fine.
Is it that long now? Oh.
Yeah. It just seems to be that technology reached a point where stuff did everything we wanted to do, and we're not all running local LLMs and all that kind of rubbish. So for the stuff we do, it's probably fine. And sure, Joe, if you went and bought a Ryzen Max 895, whatever it is, you might be able to render a podcast another 30 seconds quicker. But the reality is, who cares?
Yeah, exactly.
For the people who do have those types of jobs where it does actually matter to have things faster, though, the hardware is pretty cool now.
Yes, it's very true. Some of the epics that you can get. It's really funny as well because I see people into home labbing in a way that I am not. Like, we're talking about, double server racks in the garage, liquid cooled server racks and all of that kind of stuff. And they're buying these old Epic chips that are being retired in favor of the new ones and running them at home. Yeah, it's impressive where things are going in the professional sphere. But there are different challenges then as well. You can get nodes with 384 CPU cores in them in one node, in 2 sockets. There's only certain workloads that benefit from that many cores at once. They do exist, but I think in the home sphere, there's a limit, really. As I say, apart from niche use cases, if you're genuinely compiling a lot of things at home and that compilation scales iteratively through high core counts, then yeah, of course, you're going to benefit. But as you said, Gary, ultimately, when I switch between machines most of the time, I might notice if I go from a SATA SSD to NVMe, or if I go from 16 gigs to 32 gigs of RAM and I start spinning up VMs and stuff. But ultimately, day to day, I don't feel the pinch there.
All right. We've all copped out of this challenge, so no more. We have to say something new that we actually would want. We have to pick something. What's it going to be?
All right, fine. Did they put Oculink on the Framework desktop?
I don't know what that is.
Oh, it's that external PCI Express thing. Probably not then.
I wouldn't buy the Framework desktop, I don't think. But I want something that is that mix of lowish power draw, high performance. And that is probably what I would buy. I would probably build something around it and then spec it in a larger chassis and start indulging my dangerous leanings towards Proxmox and dangerous clusters at home, which I've recently been exploring, to be able to very much mess around at home and start touching the scale of stuff I might at work in a kind of mess around thing. But I am aware that I might become Shane from the Hybrid Cloud show if I'm not careful, and I need to keep good people around me so that I don't fall into that dark path.
Yeah, I guess put whatever the 8800 series AMD GPU and whatever the 800 series Ryzen 7 is in a computer and call that a day. That's probably what I'd do.
As much RAM as it can take, as much storage as I can fit in there comfortably, and make it a mega machine that does it all.
Sorry, Joe, computers are boring.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'll just buy a slightly better Mac Mini. I've already gone down that route. Maybe I'll get a Mac Studio. I don't know. Like, I just have such little interest. But if Joe's forcing me, then maybe that's my choice. Just a slightly higher end than the base model Mac.
Remember, if you get the 10 gig NIC, it has integrated lights out management. I don't know how you use it, but it has it.
Great. That's really good for the 2.5 gig switches I've just upgraded to.
Well, I'm just looking now, and you can get laptops with that AI Max Pro 395 system on a chip. So one of those is what I would go for. I've just found the HP ZBook or ZBook Ultra G1A 14-inch laptop with that in it. Sounds good to me. I don't know about HP. I've just kind of scarred from back when I used to do a bit of laptop fixing. It would always be shitty HPs that would just break in random ways.
Yeah, the ZBooks are okay.
Yeah, that's kind of their high end, I suppose. It looks very much like a MacBook. So, yeah, I think that.
They do have a weird design paradigm where you have to remove the entire computer from the motherboard rather than the other way around, but, you know.
Lots of them are doing that now, aren't they? riveting the motherboard upside down to the keyboard top case, and everything is, just awful. It's a shame. I do feel like, I know there are reasons for design choices technically sometimes, but I do feel like manufacturers are onto us and they're like, people are not excited by new things. So let's make it so that when something breaks, they have to buy a new one, or, all the rest of it. It does feel a bit like generally people don't get as excited these days.
And in fairness, that is probably symptomatic of where we found ourselves, where the most exciting computer any of us can decide to buy is a fairly middle-of-the-road 1,500 quid HP laptop.
Well, it's 2,112 quid from HP, but it's probably a bit less from other suppliers, I suppose. But yeah, I mean, that's not middle of the road, is it? That's pretty relatively high end.
I mean, yeah, but the same specs are probably going to end up in something that is actually middle of the road and just with a less nice case around it.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. That will be in a pavilion in a year's time that's made of plastic and will fall apart in 6 months. But yeah, fine.
I know. I've just changed the screen resolution to 1920 by 1200, and now it's downgraded me to a 380.
Oh, no.
That's the thing. Like, why do you have to have ridiculously high resolutions on screens of high-end machines? Like, why do people want to do scaling?
People don't want to do scaling. They're just trying to sell you more computer than you need. We made enough computers for everyone to have a nice computer decades ago.
I just want 1080p and also really high specs. Is that too much to ask?
Yes, it is.
Right. Well, we got absolutely nowhere with that, and that was a complete waste of time. Excellent.
Well, no, we learned gratitude and then got rid of the gratitude.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah. Well, we better get out of here then. We'll be back in a couple of weeks, but until then, I've been Joe.
I've been Chris.
I've been Gary.
And I've been May.
See you later.